The following is a video presentation by the Woodrow Wilson Center's Environmental Change and Security Program. As our notion of security evolves, the Environmental Change and Security Program asks scientists and policymakers to share their insights on a range of global challenges. In this short expert analysis, Dr. Jim Jarvie, Director of Climate Change, Environment, and Natural Resources at Mercy Corps, discusses why humanitarian development organizations must respond to new climate challenges.
Okay, I'm Jim Jarvie. I'm the Director for Climate Change and Environment for a humanitarian agency called Mercy Corps. We're about 3,500 people in just over 35 countries across the world. We go into countries during, after war, or conflict, natural disaster, but we go into the countries with an idea it's a transitional environment that we can help make a change and make things better. I've been running the climate unit for about 2 years, and it was interesting at the beginning because even among my colleagues, it was, shouldn't WWF be doing this, saving the whale? And the question comes down to, why is a humanitarian development organization doing climate change at all? Well, I'd say there are 3 reasons. One is do no harm, our in-house cleaning up. One is what we can do programmatically, and one is what we can do to really highlight the impact and the impacts that are coming down on the rural and urban poor across the world, and how to scale up activities. In-house, there's an ethos called Do No Harm, which comes from the Sphere Guidelines. And Sphere Guidelines basically tell you how to handle a crisis, how many toilets per number of refugees, etc. We've also got to think about, if we're emitting carbon into the air, if we're doing environmental harm by saying, say taking too many trees to rebuild houses after a tsunami, not sourcing legal wood, we are doing harm. So in-house we have to tidy up our own act, and that relates more to environment and a little bit to climate. On the programmatic side, we've got 2 things to do. One is on alternative energies. Even though climate change is going to have very negative impacts, there are some positive impacts too. A major one being, with all the funding, all the interest, all the research going into green technologies, the increase in production, the prices are coming down. And finally, we can get to communities that have been, or basically always will be, off-grid. Countries like East Timor, rural Laos, you name it, different places. There's the natural resource management side, finding people legal tenure, finding people livelihoods, giving people economic opportunities to have jobs, to look after their families, to actually plan, to have lifestyles, to have life plans, rather than facing just tomorrow. And all this ties into programming which is climate friendly, and which is creating jobs and protecting the environment, which in turn protects and sustains economies and whole communities. Finally, there's the disaster risk reduction piece, which is, if you have, say, coastal cities, whether that's Jakarta, whether it's any coastal city, which is sinking under its own weight perhaps, it's being flooded on a regular basis, the big challenge is the sea levels are going to rise as well. Now, we realize that we can be working with communities on flood risk reduction, we can be working with communities on preparing for the next flood, we can be providing exit routes. Our footprint's very, very small in relation to the challenge that the whole city has. And the only way they're going to protect themselves is to get links to government, whether it's municipal government, local government, national government, to say, hey, build the coastal defences, help us out, because without that, what we're doing here is useless, and we still remain threatened. And we recognise that in dealing with climate change, what we do is modest, it's small footprints, it matters to the communities we're working with. But unless we get the message out and find partners who can really take it to large scale, our efforts are not futile, but they're of little value over the next 30 to 50 years, which is indeed the time frame we ought to be thinking on. So, in summary, when it comes to environment and climate change, we are a development humanitarian agency. We're not doing it to save the whale. We're doing it to protect communities, increase livelihood options, and give people a chance at a really good life.